The crevice is barely wide enough for a hunter to climb into. He disappears without looking back. I'm next. I glance over at Eli, whose eyes have gone wide. Maybe you should wait for us here, I say. Eli nods. I don't mind the cave, he says, but that is a tunnel. I don't point out that he's the smallest of us and is least likely to get stuck because I know what he means. It seems counterintuitive, wrong, to worm our way in the earth like this. It's all right, I say. You don't have to come. Put my arm around him and squeeze his shoulder. I don't think it will take long. Eli nods again. He already looks better, less white. We'll be back, I say again. I'll be back. Eli makes me think of Bram. I know I left him behind too. I'm alright until I think too much, until I start calculating how many tons of rock must be above me. I don't even know how much 1 cubic foot of sandstone weighs, but the total amount must be enormous. And the ratio of air to stone must be small. This is why Hunter told us to hold our breath. Does he know that there is not enough air? That I might breathe out and find nothing left to breathe back in? I can't move. This stone so close around me. The passage so dark. There's only inches between the earth and me. I press tight, lying on my back with the blackness ahead and behind, and the immovability of rock above and below, and on every side, the mass of the carving pressing all over me. I've been afraid of the vastness, and now I'm afraid of the closeness. My face turns to the sky, but I cannot see. One blue above the stone. I try and calm myself, tell myself it's all right. Living things have flown from tighter spaces than this. I'm just a butterfly, a morning cloak, sealed inside the cocoon with blind eyes and sticky wings. And suddenly I wonder if the cocoons sometimes do not open. The butterfly inside is ever simply not strong enough to break through. A sob escapes my throat. Help, I say. To my surprise, it's not Hunter who speaks from ahead, it's Kai's voice from behind. It will be all right, he says. Push along a little more. Even more in my panic, I hear the music of his voice. The sound of singing. I close my eyes, imagining my breath is his own, and he is with me. Wait a moment, if you need to, he says. I picture myself smaller than I am now, climbing into the cocoon, pulling it tight around me like a real cloak, a blanket, and then I don't imagine myself bursting out. I just stay tucked inside, trying to see what I can. At first, nothing at all. And then I feel it, even hidden away in the dark. I can tell that it's there, some small part of me always free. But I will, I say out loud. You will, Kai says behind me, and I move, and then I can feel the space above me. Air to breathe, and a place to stand. Where are we? Shapes and figures form in the darkness, lit by a teeny blue light along the floor of the cave that shines like small raindrops. But, of course, that is too orderly to have fallen. Other lights illuminate tall, clear cases of machines that hum in moderate temperatures without the stone walls. What I see before me is society. Calibration, organization, calculation. Someone moves, and I almost gasp before I remember Hunter. It's so huge, I say to him. He nods. We used to meet here, he says softly, but we weren't the first. The cavern is an old place. I shudder when I look up. The walls are vast space, are embedded in the shells of dead animals and bones of beasts, all caught in the stone and that was once mud. This place existed before this society, perhaps before people lived at all. Kai comes up into the cave then, brushing dust from his hair, and I walk over to him and touch his hand. It feels cold and rough and nothing like stone. Thank you for helping me, I say to him in the warmth of his neck, and then I pull away so he can see what's here. It's a society, Kai says. His voice is quiet as the cavern. He strides across the floor of the cave, and Hunter and I follow. Kai puts his hand on the door at the other side of the room. Steele, he says. We're not supposed to be here, Hunter says, his voice tight. It feels wrong. This overlay of sterile and the society over the earthy of the organic. The society wasn't supposed to be in my relationship with Kai either. I think, remembering, my official told me that they'd known all along. The society strides in everywhere, sneaks in the cracks, water dripping against the rocks, until even the stone has no choice but to hollow and change shape. I have to know what they killed us for, Hunter says to me, gesturing to the case. They are filled with tubes, rows and rows of them, glistering blue light, beautiful as the sea, I imagine. Indy comes into the cave next, looking around her, eyes widen. So what are they? She asks. Let me look more closely, I say, and I walk behind the 2 rows of tubes. Kai comes with me, my hand along the case, made of smooth, clear plastic. To my surprise, there is no lock or door to open one to get a better look. It makes a soft hiss as it opens, and I gaze at the tubes in front of me, overwhelmed all at once by both the amount of sameness and the amount of choice. I don't want to disturb the tubes in case society has an alarm system, so I crane my neck until I can see information on the tube. In the center of the middle row, Hanver Marcus K.A. First notation is a name, clearly. The second is adverb for Kenya province. Beneath the province, 2 dates on the barcode are engraved. Those are samples of people, buried in earth with the bones of creatures long dead, and with this sediment of seas long shown, rows and rows glass tubes similar to the ones grandfather had, and the one containing his tissue preservation sample. Behind the exhaustion and fatigue, I feel sorting mind grinding its gears, whirling into action, trying to make sense of what I see. The numbers in front of me, the cave is a place of preservation, accidental and intentional. In the mudded fossils above us, the tissue stored in tubes. Why here, I wonder? Why so far from the edge of society? Surely there are better places, dozens of them, as is the opposite of a graveyard. It's a reserve for saying goodbye, and I understand this, though I wish I didn't. Some way this makes more sense to me than putting people forever into earth and letting them go away the farmers do. They're tissue samples, I tell Kai. But why would the society store them here? I shiver, and Kai puts his arm around me. I know, he says, but he doesn't. The carving doesn't care. We live, we die, we turn to rock or lie in earth and drift out to sea and burn to ash. And the carving doesn't care about any of it. We will come and go, the society will come and go, the canyon will live on. We know what they are, Hunter says. I looked over at him. What must someone who have never lived in society think of something like this? Yes, I say, but I don't know why. Wait a moment, let me think. How many are in here? Kai asks. I do a quick estimation based on the row in front of me. There are thousands, I say, hundreds of thousands. The tubes are small rows upon rows, case upon case, aisle upon aisles, in a vast space of the cavern. But not enough to account for all the samples that must have been taken over the years. This can't be the only facility. Could there be moving them out from the society? Kai asks. I shake my head confused. Why would they do that? They're arranged by Providence, I say, noting that all the tubes in the case before me say K.A. Find Oria, Kai says. It should be on the next row, I say, calculating, walking fast. Indy and Hunter stand together watching us. I turn the corner and find tubes marked O.R. for Oria. Seeing the familiar aberration on such a strange place gives me an odd feeling of both intimate and distant. I hear the sound of secret entrance to the cavern. We all turn. Eli comes through like Kai did, grinning and brushing dirt from his hair. I rush over to him and grab Eli tight, my heart hammering in my chest as he went through all alone. Eli, I say, I thought you were going to wait. I'm fine, he tells me. He glances over my shoulder, looking for Kai. You did it, Kai calls out to Eli. Eli sees me standing illustrator. I shake my head at Eli, promising one thing, then choosing his own way, then changing his mind. Graham would have done the same thing. Eli looks around wide-eyed. They're storing tubes here, he says. We think they're organized by Providence, I tell him, and then Kai signals to me, Cassia, I found something. I hurry back over to where Kai is, and while Indy and Eli wander up and down the roads looking for their own Providence, if the first date is a birthday, Kai says the second date is likely. He pauses, waiting to see if I draw the same conclusion. Death date. The date that simply sample was taken, I say. And then I realize what he means. They're too close. They're not 80 years apart. They weren't just storing the old. Kai says, these people, they can't all be dead. They don't only take the samples when we die, I say, my mind racing. I think back so many chances. Our forks, our spoons, the clothes we wear, or maybe even the samples ourselves, nods and scraps of our tissues away and over and taken a red tablet. The sample at the end means nothing. Society already has tubes for everyone they want to keep. Maybe younger tissues work better. In this way, we don't have to know about the other samples. They can keep us complacent until the very end. My heart leaps within me, preservedly in gratitude to the society. Grandfather might have a sample in here. If not, no matter that my father destroyed the one taken at the final banquet. Cassia, Kai says softly, Xander's here. What? Where? Has he come to find us? How did he know? Here, Kai says quietly, pointing at one of the blue-lit tubes. Of course. I had to avoid as I looked at the tube. Carol Xander. O.R. His birth date is correct. Xander, and this is Xander's sample. But Xander's not dead, as far as I know. And then Kai and I both stare at the case, our eyes running over the numbers, our fingers interlocking. Who's here? Who is saved? You're here, Kai says, pointing. There it is, the date of my birth, and the name, Reyes Casilla. I draw my breath in sharply, my name. Seeing it here reminds me the way it felt when I said my name at the match banquet. It reminds me that I belong, that my future has been secured by the society with great care. I'm not here, Kai says, watching me. You might be in another province, I say. You could be. I'm not here, Kai says. For a moment, in the dim lighting of the cave, we all, with the way he knows how to blend with the shadow, it seems that he is not. Only to feel his hand pulled tightly to mine tells me differently. Hunter comes over and stands next to me, and I try to explain the tissues. I tell Hunter, a little bit of skin or hair or fingernails society takes from their citizens so that someday this society can bring us back to life. But once they use the word us. For all I know, I might be the only one in the cave with a tube stored here. And even that might only be because I haven't had time to change my status yet. I glance up at the wall of the cave again as the bones and teeth and shells left behind. If what we are isn't our bones, but must be in our tissues, it must be somewhere. Hunter looks at me and then at the tubes. He looks for so long that I open my mouth to try and explain again, but he reaches inside a case, takes out the tube before I can stop him. No alarm sounds. Its absence unnerves me. It does not light flash somewhere back at society that tells the officials of the breach. Hunter holds up the tube and shines the flashlight through it. The samples are so small that it can't even be seen amid the solution swishing inside. Snap. The tube breaks and blood runs red down Hunter's hand. They killed us to store themselves, he says. Everyone looks at Hunter for a wild, impulsive moment. I'm tempted to join Hunter in breaking it. I'd open all the doors and all the cases and grab something to strike, perhaps. I'd sprint down the aisles, a tube smashing blue silvery light, and I'd run a stick along to see if it would sound like chimes. I wonder if the tone of others' lives would be sour, wrong, or strong, clear, soft, like truly musical. But I didn't break. I do something else instead, quickly, while they all stare at Hunter. He opens his hand, looks at the blood and liquid in his palm. In spite of myself, I note the name on the label, Thurston Morgan. I look back up at Hunter. Breaking a tube like that must require a lot of strength, but he seems to notice the effort. Why, he asks, how? How have they discovered a way to bring people back? Everyone stares, waiting for me to explain all this. Anger and embarrassment rise up in me. Why do they think I have all the answers? Because I'm the most society of us all. But are things I do not understand, parts of the society, parts of myself. Kai puts his hand on my arm. Cassia, he says softly. I'm not Alexander, I say, too loud for the echoing cave. Kai blinks at the sound of my voice, calls around him. I don't know about medicine, our tablets, the sample storage, or what the society can and can't do in the medical field. I don't know. For a moment, everyone is silent, and then Indy speaks. Alexander's secret, she says, turning to Kai. Does it have anything to do with this? Kai opens up his mouth to say something, but before he can, all we can see is little red lights flashing now on the top of the case Hunter opened. Fearing strings through me again, and I don't know which frightens me more, the society or the cavern that has us caught.